4 years ago, I made a video saying buying 1,200 ounces of silver might not be a very good idea. And a lot of people say that has not aged well because, of course, we're in this magical world now where silver is worth a lot more than it was back then. But it's also still very volatile, and new stackers need to be aware of that and ask themselves the difficult questions. So whilst you might not like to hear what I'm about to say, silver is not necessarily the best buy, but it still can form a part of your portfolio. So let's talk about whether or not buying silver right now is a good idea. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a warm welcome to you all joining me for another precious metal ramble. Silver took a bit of a dive last week. If you didn't know, it's gone down in price quite a lot. And whenever silver drops in price, you always start to get those type of videos come out once again going, it's on discount, it's time to back up the truck. But what I want to do here is present a bit of a devil's advocate argument to say that actually silver's not that great of a buy. I've done that before. In fact, one of my most popular videos was specifically titled Why Buying 1,200 Ounces of Silver Was a Very Bad Idea. With over 300,000 views, I think it kind of hit a nerve a little bit that perhaps there is this bit of concern from a lot of silver stackers out there, and I think a lot of new breed silver stackers will feel this sentiment over this last week or two and year or so as well, that perhaps silver isn't as amazing as it's meant to be or cut out to be. Now, I still personally think there's a place for silver in any portfolio of investments over a long period of time. I have a lot of silver. That's why I buy it. So whilst I'm presenting a devil's advocate kind of argument here, I do want you all to understand that I'm pro-silver. We're all on the same team here. And whilst it might not be prudent to go ahead and back up the truck right now and buy all of your silver that you can possibly get your hands on, it's still got a place in people's portfolios, in my opinion. And also a reminder that I'm presenting opinions here today. I'm not presenting cold, hard financial advice, so please take that on board. Now, one of the big arguments that I put forward in my big popular video was that silver just is very impractical as an investment to have. And even more so now, I think, over this last year and a half or so, perhaps maybe let's call it 2 years since coronavirus really took hold, because we're now seeing premiums at a really, really high. Before, you could just about get past using silver as a kind of shorter term hedge. It's much more volatile, as we've seen in this last couple of weeks, and you could potentially look to buy it and then let it go and have a profit. But there is this big now change in mentality of people that they want to have something out of the system to hold it for a long time. And that's always been I say always has been. It wasn't at the start. I wanted to make a quick profit on silver, but about a year in, I really very quickly realized that actually it's more about the long term, and I use my silver as gold in waiting, essentially as a way to get hold of that gold in the future. Silver is volatile. It is much more volatile than gold is, and we've certainly seen that in this last week or two. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I personally think that silver can be a pretty bad choice. And maybe if you have gone all in on silver over this last couple of years, it's not that clever of a thing to do. Also, one of silver's biggest shortcomings is the fact that it is not very valuable. And that might sound a little bit strange. You're going, hang on, back up, Bullion, this 10-ounce silver coin that you've got here, just in material weight is $200, and with premiums, $300, $400 perhaps. Well, yes, it's valuable, but it's really not earth-shatteringly valuable. And especially when you start to get into the larger quantities of silver, you start to find more of the impracticalities about it as well. And it's certainly something to think about if you are stacking for the long term. And in that big video that I did that got 300,000 views, my core argument was that silver is too bulky. It's just not valuable enough to really warrant a life-changing sum of cash. So going all in on silver and buying metric tons of the stuff like you might see on Reddit or on YouTube, if there's your favorite YouTuber like myself who's got a lot of kilo silver bars, we have, or the people who buy this stuff have the plan that they don't need to bug out with it. It's not an apocalypse tool. It's not going to be, you're not going to have a big bag of silver dimes that you're going to be lugging around the apocalypse paying for your groceries in. I'm not a subscriber to that idea of that apocalyptic style world. I personally think if we do get to a point where dollars collapse and the world economies completely disappear, that there'll be wars. It'll be a different world entirely, and I don't intend to be, I don't intend to be around. I don't expect to be around, I think is probably a better phrase. The world will be just a mess. So to rely on that is, in my opinion, a little bit eh. What I did find interesting was that there was a video put out by Silver Dragons who asked the question, what if we got it wrong? Now, I did a video about what if we got it wrong a while ago. It was, I think, maybe even 3 or 4 years ago. It was one of my earlier videos. And you just got to ask yourself, what if you are wrong? And a lot of people don't ask themselves that when they get all caught up in the hype. So it is good to see a channel like Silver Dragons asking that question. And whilst there are foibles with silver and gold right now, and I'm presenting maybe arguments that don't mean a very great deal to you guys out there right now, it is important. It's important to understand that it's not a perfect investment. And whilst there is a lot of talk out there that silver should be going higher and will be going higher, you shouldn't rely on it. You should not rely on it. Now, if I'm wrong, and I haven't been wrong yet in this 6-7 years that I've been making videos, where I think I've been pretty consistent with my messaging of silver's not going to the moon. It's not going to get to the astronomical highs that a lot of people say, wish, and hope that it will. But what it will do is it will slowly protect your wealth over time. And for me, as a silver stacker, as I said, it is basically a way to have gold in waiting. And all you got to do is look at the gold-silver ratio right now to understand that gold is much more safe than silver. If you want to put your money in something and you're asking that question, what if you're wrong about silver, then gold is the answer. Gold really is the answer. It's expensive right now, though. That's the problem. And what if you're wrong about gold? What if I'm wrong about gold? I have always worried about buying new gold. At any price point, I'm like, is now the right time to buy, or should I just wait? Should I hold? Should I just see what happens? And I think my message that I've put out on my channel countless times before is, if you are buying, don't regret what you buy. So even if you might be wrong and silver isn't going to go to the moon and you're not going to get those returns that you want, or perhaps you bought silver a year ago at the highs that it was at and you're now sitting on silver that's worth 30, 40, 50% less than it was, then don't regret it. Have what you've got, enjoy what you've got. Hopefully you don't need to sell what you've got. I think if you're in a position where you're forced to sell something before you wanted it to be sold, then that is when you get to the point where you need to ask yourself, was I wrong in that decision-making process? And I think that's the most important lesson that anybody can take away from volatile silver markets. As for my original concept here that silver is an impractical and bad investment, I look back at that video and I get comments even to this day asking, has this aged well? This didn't age very well. Buying 1,200 ounces of silver in 2018 when you could buy it for 14, 15 pounds an ounce. What's that, sort of $17 an ounce in your pocket? Yeah. Maybe I was wrong, and I'm first to admit that maybe that concept was wrong. But it's still fine to ask the questions, to ask the devil's advocate questions. And whilst I said that right at the start of that big video, people still comment to this day going, hey, you're wrong. Buying in 2018 was a great idea. And I do agree. I think buying silver, I'm very fortunate that I bought a lot of silver back in 2016, 17 and 18 and 19 before the big crashes of the markets and the world. It's been very beneficial to have this stuff. But it's always worth checking, always worth thinking about what is right for you in your own circumstances and your own situations. And without asking the questions, without presenting the devil's advocate, we're just in echo chambers. We're just congratulating ourselves. We're just giving ourselves a pat on the back going, yeah, silver's amazing, man. Whereas what we see right now is silver's lost a lot of price in the last couple of weeks. And a lot of people have, on paper anyway, lost a lot of money. And whilst a lot of people go, yeah, it's fine, I'm going to go and buy more, that is not necessarily the right thing to do. If you had, a stock or a share that was continually dropping, Would you continue to pump money into it on the hope that it might go up? It's a gamble, it's a risk. Any investment is a risk. And it's important to remember that. So when you see the next video going, buy now, it's a perfect buying opportunity, buy the dip, remember that that's been said for the last year or more, and people have been buying and putting money in and not getting money out. And over a long term, that might be fine. But over a short term, it's dangerous. And you've got to ask yourself, did you get it wrong? So that's my thoughts on the subject of silver prices going down once again. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you might have realised that I'm slightly different. I've got a bit of a contrarian view to silver stacking than maybe some of the other channels out there in this world, and certainly some of the other social media platforms. And we hope that you've enjoyed it. If you have, you're the kind of person that maybe would like to subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And that would help us get to 40,000 subs. In fact, probably by the time we go live with this video, we'll be very, very close, if not there. So maybe you'll be the 40th thousand subscriber to hit that little alarm bell. And once we get there, we're going to do a giveaway. So definitely worth doing, and we'll see you next time. A big thank you to all my BYB Rambling Society members who have watched to the end of the video. And if you are a big supporter of the channel and you want to find out more about supporting, then check out channel memberships down below. Otherwise, that's it from me. A big thank you to you all for watching. We'll see you on the next video. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.